Hello, Dr. Bells here. In this video I'm going to demonstrate how to set up the mic audio on the Yaesu FT-991A. I would like to point out that I have changed the stock fist mic for a MH67 fist mic, which has a much better audio response. It does not have the up and down tuning buttons or any other clever buttons on it, but it still does have the push to talk there. I've tuned the 991A to 29.695 megahertz, which is a quiet frequency at the moment, and I have the Sangean ATS 803A with the RF gain turned down, also tuned to 29.695 megahertz SSB. I'm listening to the Sangean ATS 803A through a pair of headphones to avoid any feedback problems. Pressing the menu button, if we go to menu item 110, we'll see that that is the SSB Transmit Bandpass Filter. And if we select that, we can run through a range of frequency bands pertaining to the audio bandwidth. So there's 100 to 3000 Hertz,
1212,
100 to 2900 Hertz,
1212,
200 to 2800, the default, which is 300 to 2700, and a narrower response, which is 400 to 2600.
1212. You can tell the difference there. You can tell the difference between the responses like that. I'll leave it at 300 to 2700, and that should be okay.
There are various options to look at here. One is the mic EQ. You can turn that on and off. And if it is off, then there'll be no parametric equalizer applied to the microphone input. But I like to have that on. There's also the speech processor, which can be off or set to a value by turning the dial, like so. There's also mic gain, and that can be adjusted to ensure that this meter on transmit stays within the ALC region as marked by the blue band there. We can look at the compression meter when we are using the processor, and if there is too much compression, we can cause all sorts of splattering problems and strange harmonics. So it's best to keep the compression between 5 and 10 on the scale, which is 5 and 10 dB.
So if we do back off a little bit there, we can see that we can keep it within the desired compression level if we are careful.
And if I turn the mic gain down a little,
that will be a lot more easy and a lot more comfortable to do.
We don't want it to go above 10, and ideally not below 5 dB. All the time we're doing these adjustments or making these adjustments, I'm monitoring it on an external receiver. We could monitor it on a web SDR, which is nice, or we could monitor it using the Moni feature. And the Yaesu will play the audio through its speaker, but the problem with that is there will be no background noise on it, and it is worth listening to your voice with a little background noise, because that is what everybody else will be hearing. So I recommend to not use the monitor feature, but use an external receiver if you've got one, or use a web SDR. If you use your own receiver, turn its RF gain down if you can, and make sure that you are transmitting into a dummy load if possible. If you do not have a dummy load, then make sure that your RF power is set to as low as possible. It's also best to set this up using an antenna system that is 50 ohms impedance, otherwise the ALC readings may be off. Now for the main part. The parametric equalizer has many settings. There's the PRMTRC parametric, EQ1, EQ2 and EQ3. And they are found towards the end of the menu list. The frequency can be adjusted, which is the center frequency of, if you like, of each passband. There's the level, which can be adjusted up to 10 and down to -20, so it can actually be attenuated. And then there's the bandwidth of that particular passband. If we go past all those, we've got the P parametric settings, EQ1, EQ2, EQ3. And they have similar parameters, frequency, level and bandwidth. And the P at the beginning of parametric refers to the processor. So these are the settings when the speech processor is switched in. I have signed in, by the way, so I'm not just using my radio illegally.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Obviously that didn't seem to make much difference. This one will.
Testing, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
You can alter the frequency as well.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
And the bandwidth.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Some of the differences can be quite subtle.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And speak when you press the button, of course. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
So that's how it can be adjusted. Now many people say, oh well, you know, all you need to do is adjust it to these settings and it will be fine because that worked with me. And the truth is that's not the case. Everybody's voice is different and people's microphones are different as well. So it's best to go through this process to make sure that your audio is the best you can get it for what you want to do. Some people want more, as we say, talk power, so that the transmit power is the greatest that we can get from our voice, and that's good for the long distance contacts or contacts over very noisy paths and what have you. And some people want a more mellow, more easy to listen to voice, which is good for the casual conversations that you may have with another station that can receive you well and you can receive them well over a more quieter path on a quiet frequency. Well, I hope you found that interesting and informative, and hopefully you can sort out your audio on your Yaesu FT-991A. But please don't obsess over it because it won't sound too bad anyway, but just try to get the best you can out of it for what you need. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!